What if your pain isn't the problem? It's the plan. There is a question most of us spend our entire lives avoiding. What do you do with pain that refuses to leave? Not the kind that therapy softens or time dulls. Not the kind you can outrun with a promotion or a vacation or a new relationship. I'm talking about the kind of pain that takes up residence in your chest, that greets you every morning, that sits beside you at dinner, that whispers in the silence before sleep. Most of us are taught to manage it, to compartmentalize, to push through, to keep our heads down and our hands busy. And if you're a Black woman, well, the script is already written for you. You don't get to fall apart. You hold everyone else together. You wear the cape. You show up. You survive. And you do it all with a smile. But what if survival was never the point? What if the real question is not how do we endure pain, but how do we transform it into something that heals not just us, but everyone who comes after us? I had the profound honor of sitting down with Diana E. Lemon, a Black mother, visionary, and community leader who is rewriting the entire conversation around grief, healing, and legacy. Diana didn't just survive the loss of her daughter, Dream Ione Shepherd. She took that unbearable, crushing pain and turned it into the Ossining Community Garden of Dreams Legacy Center, a 2.9-acre sanctuary that is now being recognized nationally as a blueprint for how America heals. And let me be very clear about something. This isn't just a garden. This is a movement. This is a model. This is what happens when a woman decides that her pain will not be wasted, that her grief will not be silent, and that her daughter's legacy will bloom in ways the world has never seen. Diana's story is one of the most powerful examples I have ever encountered of what it means to release the cape, to redefine strength, and to choose softness not as weakness, but as the most radical, revolutionary act of self love and community care. And today I want to share what I learned from her. Because if you have been carrying grief, exhaustion, or pain that you don't know what to do with, this conversation might just change your life. Let me start here. Grief is not something you get over. I know we've been told that. I know we've been handed timelines and stages and well meaning advice about closure and moving on. But Diana taught me something entirely different. She taught me that grief can be rooted, it can be tended, it can be transformed into something that holds you while simultaneously holding others. After Dream's passing, Diana was drowning. And in the middle of that drowning, something unexpected happened. People started bringing her plants, seeds, flowers, herbs, gifts from the earth that didn't demand anything from her except presence. And slowly, those plants became a lifeline. They became a language. They became a way back to herself and a way forward into something much bigger than her own pain. Diana didn't set out to build a national model for healing. She set out to survive one more day. But in her survival, she made a choice. She chose to plant. She chose to root her grief in the earth and let it grow into something beautiful, something restorative, something sacred. And that's how the Austining Community Garden of Dreams Legacy Center was born. Now, let's talk about what this garden actually is, because it's not just a pretty space with flowers and benches where people take Instagram photos. This is a 2.9-acre sanctuary that was acquired on Earth Day 2025, and it is intentionally, meticulously designed for healing. Diana didn't just throw some seeds in the ground and hope for the best. She studied, she researched, she chose herbs and flowers known for their healing properties, plants that have been used for centuries in ancestral practices. She created rituals like the Dreams Way Path Walk and horticultural therapy sessions. She built a space where people of all ages, all backgrounds, all walks of life could come and release pain they had been holding for years, sometimes decades. And here's what happened: elders started showing up and reconnecting with memories they thought they had lost. Children started learning plant wisdom and ancestral practices that their grandparents knew but never had the space to teach. Adults found a safe place to express grief and joy without judgment, without performance, without having to be strong for anyone else. The garden became a living memorial, yes, but it also became a sanctuary for collective healing. It became a place where people could finally ask themselves, what am I carrying? And is there another way to hold it? This is what Diana calls intentional healing. And this is the first thing I need you to remember from our conversation. Healing is not accidental. It is designed, it is nurtured, it is woven into relationships with the land, with others, and with ourselves. And it absolutely requires structure. We live in a world that treats healing like it's supposed to happen on its own. Like if you just wait long enough, or pray hard enough, or stay busy enough, the pain will magically disappear. But Diana's work proves that healing requires intention. It requires you to create the conditions for it. It requires you to build the rituals, the practices, the spaces that allow healing to take root and flourish. At the Garden of Dreams Legacy Center, healing isn't left to chance. There are programs, there are practices, there are pathways, literally and figuratively, that guide people through their grief and into restoration. Diana didn't just want people to visit the garden, she wanted them to be transformed by it. And that transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone cared enough to design it, to hold space for it, to believe it was possible. Now, I know some of you are sitting there thinking that's beautiful, but I don't have 2.9 acres. I don't have a garden. I don't have the resources or the time or the energy to build something like that. And I hear you. But here's what Diana would tell you. And here's what I desperately need you to hear. You don't need 2.9 acres to start healing. You just need to start. Diana started with a single plant, one gift, one seed, one small agreement to return to life. And from that one seed, a national movement grew. So maybe for you, it's not a garden. Maybe it's a journal. Maybe it's a morning walk. Maybe it's finally saying no to the thing that's been draining you for years. Maybe it's touching a leaf, a flower, a tree, and asking yourself, what am I carrying? And is there another way to hold it? Because here's the second thing I need you to remember: your pain has purpose and possibility. It is not meaningless, it is not wasted, it is not a burden you were meant to carry alone until you collapse under its weight. It is a seed. And when you plant it in community, when you tend to it with intention, when you give it space to breathe and grow, it can transform into something beautiful, restorative, and lasting. Diana's pain didn't disappear when she built the garden, but it transformed. It became a legacy. It became a space where other people could heal. It became a model that is now being studied and replicated across the country. Her story has inspired other Black mothers, other leaders, other organizations to pursue land based healing and legacy building as tools for justice and restoration. And that's the power of choosing to do something with your pain instead of just surviving it. That's the power of softness. That's the power of saying, I will not carry this alone and I will not let this break me. I will plant it, I will tend it, and I will let it grow into something that serves not just me, but everyone who comes after me. Let me tell you what happened when Diana committed to this vision. The garden didn't just become a local treasure, it became a national blueprint. Media outlets began covering her story. Policymakers took notice. Diana's work caught the attention of federal agencies, and she secured federal recognition and support for her vision. She proved that lived experience can drive legislative and cultural transformation. She showed the world that Black women are not just surviving trauma, we are leading the way in healing from it. We are the architects of restoration. We are the gardeners of grace. And that's what the soft girl era is really about. It's about releasing the cape, it's about redefining strength, It's about choosing softness, rest, and healing without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. It's about recognizing that you don't have to keep grinding to prove your worth. You don't have to keep carrying everyone else's pain to be valuable. You are allowed to tend to yourself. You are allowed to plant your pain and let it grow into something that heals you and your community. The Garden of Dreams Legacy Center has become a sanctuary where elders reconnect with lost memories, where children learn the names of plants their ancestors knew, where adults find safety to express grief and joy in the same breath. It's a place where people come broken and leave a little more whole. It's a place where healing is not a luxury, but a birthright. It's a place where pain is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a new one. Diana's journey began with her own need for healing after loss, and her vision expanded to include a wider community, drawing on ancestral practices and Black cultural traditions. She implemented earth stewardship programs, horticultural therapy, and intentional rituals to support emotional and ancestral healing. She created a space that addressed generational trauma and promoted wellness for Black families and the broader community. And now the center has influenced conversations about wellness, legacy, and restorative justice, positioning Black women as leaders in the movement for community healing. This is not just a story about one woman and one garden. This is a story about what becomes possible when we stop running from our pain and start planting it. This is a story about what happens when we choose to be soft in a world that taught us survival. This is a story about agency, about legacy, about deciding that our pain will not define us, but it will refine us. So here's what I want you to do: not tomorrow, not next week, right now. I want you to step outside. I want you to touch something living: a leaf, a flower, a tree, a blade of grass. Or if you can't get outside, just pause and notice your own breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your lungs. And then I want you to ask yourself this question: what am I carrying? And is there another way to hold it? And then I want you to make one small agreement, one small commitment to return to life, to healing, to community. Maybe it's setting a boundary you've been too afraid to set. Maybe it's asking for help when you've always been the helper. Maybe it's planting something, literally or metaphorically, that you can tend to. Maybe it's just giving yourself permission to rest without feeling guilty about it. Because healing is not a luxury, it is not something you earn after you've done enough or suffered enough or proved enough. Healing is your birthright, and you have agency in deciding what grows from your pain. Diana Lemon took the loss of her daughter and turned it into a sanctuary that is changing lives every single day. She took her grief and rooted it in the earth, and now it's blooming into a national movement. She didn't do it because she was superhuman. She did it because she chose to be soft. She chose to be intentional. She chose to believe that her pain had purpose. And so does yours. You are not required to carry your pain alone. You are not required to keep surviving when you could be healing. You are allowed to plant your grief. You are allowed to tend to it. You are allowed to let it grow into something beautiful. And when you do, you won't just heal yourself, you'll create a sanctuary for everyone who comes after you. That's the legacy. That's the garden. That's the soft girl era. So I'll leave you with this. What if your pain isn't the problem? What if it's the plan? What if everything you've been carrying, everything you've been surviving, everything you've been trying to outrun is actually the seed of something extraordinary? What if the very thing that broke you is the thing that will build you into the healer, the leader, the visionary you were always meant to be? Diana proved it's possible. Now it's your turn. Go outside, touch something living. Ask yourself what you're carrying, and then plant it, tend it, watch it grow. Because your pain has a purpose, and the world is waiting for what blooms from it.